All right, we've looked at some of the objections, some of the challenges we might raise in response to Marquis' argument, but I think there's a couple more we should probably give some consideration to. For example, what about a woman's right to bodily autonomy? Marquis doesn't mention this even once. And that seems somewhat peculiar to me because when I think about debates about the ethics of abortion that I've listened to, claims involving a woman's right to bodily autonomy seem to feature pretty prominently in those debates. My body, my choice, keep the government's hands off my body, and so on and so forth. And yet, Marquis doesn't even so much as glance at these claims. Why? I think an answer can be found in a really close reading of Marquis' main claim here, where he says abortion is, except possibly in rare cases, seriously immoral. Here's the important sentence coming up. It is in the same moral category as killing an innocent adult human being. Okay, moral category. We have different moral categories. We have the moral category of stealing, of lying, of tax evasion, of cheating on our spouses, or spouse. And we have these different categories because the criteria for determining what kinds of actions are morally permissible and morally prohibited in each of those different categories are going to be unique to the particular category that we're considering. And so we might, for example, think about the moral category of killing not an innocent human being, as Marquis says here, but killing a guilty human being or a non-innocent human being. So imagine we work as a cashier at a convenience store, and there's been this spate of robberies of convenience stores in the area lately. And every time the cashier hands the money over to the robber immediately shoots and kills the cashier in an effort to try to make it more difficult to identify who the robber is. And now here we see, here's this guy who comes through the door of the convenience store. He's got his gun out. We have every reason to believe this is the robber that's been killing cashiers. And he says, look, give me all your money. Now, I have every reason to believe he's going to kill me after I do this. But I just so happen to be packing heat. And so I quickly pull out my gun and I shoot this robber, killing him before he's able to kill me. Am I morally permitted to do that? Was that a morally permissible action? And most people are going to say, yeah, you have this natural right to self-defense. And you had justification for believing that this person was a direct and immediate and purposeful threat to your life. This person chose to walk into this liquor store, and you had every reason to believe this person was going to choose to shoot you, and therefore you are morally permitted in shooting him first. But Marquis identified a different moral category than that one here. The moral category here is the category of killing an innocent adult human being, not a guilty one. And so Marquis says, look, you need to look really closely at this particular moral category and determine what the criteria would be for determining whether or not you're morally permitted to kill an innocent adult human being. Because if you can figure out what those criteria are, you might be able to then answer this question about a fetus or a developing baby and abortion. Because remember, what Marquis is saying is the thing that makes our life valuable is that we believe we have a future that's going to include experiences that we come to value, even though we don't know that that future will actually manifest, and we don't know what those experiences exactly are. And importantly, he says, a fetus is that exact same kind of thing. It possesses that feature as well. Therefore, we have to think about what are the criteria for determining when we're morally permitted to kill an innocent adult human being, because then we can analogize that and perhaps figure out when we're justified in an abortion. And what's important here for Marquis is that we have to recognize that when a fetus is threatening the life of a mother, continuing a pregnancy is threatening the life of a woman, unlike the robber, the fetus isn't choosing to do this. The fetus isn't intentionally doing this. It's not motivated or attempting to do this. It's innocent, right? And this is the important feature for Marquis. It's innocent. So what would be the bizarro trolley problem circumstances in which you would be morally justified in killing an innocent adult human being? And we might come to a similar conclusion that we came to with the other moral category and say, like, well, if this innocent adult human being is, for some bizarre reason, an imminent and direct threat to my life, not through any choice of its own or through any intentions or actions on its own, it's just the way it is, then maybe I'm morally permitted in taking the life of that innocent human being. And we can then, of course, analogize that to abortion. Well, what if a pregnancy is threatening the life of a woman? Would we be morally permitted in ending that pregnancy by destroying the fetus or developing baby. And this is why Marquis has this language in here about possibly rare, except possibly in rare cases. Because what Marquis is likely to argue is this, is that there are, in fact, cases where continuing a pregnancy is an imminent and direct threat to a woman's life. But, Marquis is going to say, it's rare that the only way to eliminate that threat to the woman's life is destroying the fetus or developing baby through abortion. It's more common, he's going to say, to deliver the fetus, the developing baby, and have it be viable and survive on its own. And so there's a way of eliminating the threat to the woman's life that doesn't involve destroying the fetus or the baby. And Marquis is going to say it's really rare that we're in the situation where we're so early on in a pregnancy that a woman's life is threatened and the fetus baby isn't viable. And so I think that's how Marquis is going to respond here. So what he's going to say is that it might be morally permissible to perform this abortion if there were no other way to eliminate the imminent threat to the woman's life, and the continuing the pregnancy was actually a direct and imminent threat to the woman's life.